Thank you, David. Thank you for those kind words. I just thought I'd take this opportunity to note we've got David here, we're current Minister for ICT. We've got Morris. I can't see you, Morris, but the lights are strong. You're right there. The lights are strong. If it hadn't been for Morris saying, "I want to be Minister for IT," I probably would never have joined government in the first place, and that might have been a good thing for some people. But anyway. But I think it's really something the way New Zealand government has taken this portfolio between its collective teeth over successive governments, and I'd like to thank you both for that, and the governments you both have been part of or are still part of. Okay, a quick straw poll. Who's ever used Google to help out with a technical problem? You know, my computer's done something strange. Can be Windows, doesn't have to be open source. Yes, I can see quite a lot. Who's ever posted to a forum and asked for a response for some technical problem you're having? Yeah, I have. Yeah. It came back in 15 minutes, which was incredibly impressive. We want to help each other, you know? We're kind of people, we want to help. I think this is something about humans. We actually like, maybe the uncharitable among us would say it's showing off, but actually perhaps there's more to it than that. We actually want to help each other get things done, and that's kind of who we are as a human species. We cooperate to get things done. Open source is that writ large. Open source is us really building stuff that everybody else can use. A government, again, it's the same sort of thing. Government is full of people who want to help. I really discovered that in my sojourn of a decade or so working as a public servant. Government's full of people who passionately care about getting things done in New Zealand and making New Zealand a better place. And I think we will just go back to the food camp here. Everybody had to introduce himself in 3 words. David, do you remember what yours were, David?
No, but I can remember Rod's actually.
Oh, David said, David Cunliffe, New Zealand Government, his 3 words were, "Here to help." Anyway, government has been a major user and proponent of open source in New Zealand, and I'm actually proud of that. As somebody who works and lives and is a citizen of this country, I think that's a great thing. Just a particular one, I'll just mention these guys because they're not on the finalist list. The New Zealand Police, probably most people know this, put up a wiki recently saying, how should the law be written, by the way? How cool is that?
Very cool.
They wouldn't let me near the voting on this category. I'm just going to get that in as the obligatory disclaimer, okay? Somebody's bound to be disappointed. Sorry, guys, wasn't me. Anyway, we've got 4 really good finalists. I'm going to work through them all, and then we'll do the usual thing. The State Services Commission ITT branch. That's our first finalist, dear to my heart, deservedly shortlisted. The work the Commission's done through the e-government program, it's been noticed overseas. It continues to be noticed overseas. The nomination for the State Services Commission for these awards came from Malaysia. Okay? Which is a country that actually does do a fair bit of open source itself. The Commission's recognised not only for giving clear guidance to agencies to consider open source, but also for putting that guidance into practice itself, particularly with the use and reuse of Web Standards compliant version of Plone, which is now being used for several agencies. Also, the SSE has very much shown leadership in this area. I think that's a great thing. Next, Everwood, thank you. The Electoral Enrolment Centre, now everybody got a mention from David. We're all being tracked in open source databases. Well, that's nothing new. But they're maintaining a definitive record of everyone eligible to vote at any given point, and that's fundamental to democracy. New Zealand prides itself on how we do democracy, and doing it through open source. There's something robust and transparent about that. Open source is inherently democratic. The Electoral Enrolment Centre has, since 2003, it's operated entirely on an open source platform. It does everything. Debian-based servers, VPNs, firewalls, mail servers and clients, uses Postgres. uses open source replication, uses Apache web servers, open source call center interfaces. It's got the lot, right through to Ubuntu Open Office for the desktop PCs. And through that, the centre maintains one of the most accurate roles in the world in a cost-effective and transparent fashion. Next, we have Pharmac, the schedule team. We all know Pharmac, of course. They often hit the news. And Pharmac, they distribute, one of what they do is distribute pharmaceutical schedules to over 9,000 health professionals on a regular basis. They deal with some 40 million subsidy claims every year. That's their document that they distribute. This thing is pretty huge. Having been told by several local printers that automatic typesetting from the Pharmac database was impossible, the Pharmac team looked at commercial options, and then they hit on a set of open source tools based on TeX, XML and Xlink, and that's enabled the team to produce both web and print version of the schedule in a cost-effective and extensible manner. I think that's a great thing. It's a problem that's not unique to Pharmac. There are some valuable lessons to be learnt from this initiative in other sectors, and probably across the whole of government. So. And the final one, we have the Ministry of Social Development's Applications Development team. Open source is, of course, increasingly visible across the public sector, we all know that, but there's much happening behind the scenes too. Application development at MSD is just one example of an agency making effective use of the taxpayer dollar by employing open source toolsets and frameworks for almost all their in-house development. The Ministry uses a range of tools from Eclipse to Apache Lucene, and handpicking widely used projects which they find of high quality and which are well supported commercially and by the community. The development teams found, it's a great quote here, I'm going to read this one. There seems to be a correlation between adopters of open source and forward-thinking, groundbreaking organisations and individuals. Enough said. Oh, it's this one, is it? The magic envelope. Okay, we will have a look. The winner for the government category for open source is the State Services Commission ICT branch.